let's now talk about some of the cool things that are coming. Might be 3.7, might be that sort of end-of-year release. If we encounter different things, maybe some things spill over into 2021. Too early to say. But the things that we're excited about. So, viewer updates. We've got a system at Foundry called the Advanced Viewport. It started its life as the Mari viewport. It was then extracted out of Mari. It was turned into an independent GL viewport technology. It found a home in Moto as the Moto Advanced Viewport. And then it's being refined over time. It is now being pulled out and made into a Hydra render delegate. And it will be finding a home in Katana sometime this year. So what are we looking at? USD-Z assets that were loaded through our USD plugin that are being presented to us in the viewport with their USD preview surface definitions. So the whole sort of consumption and display and sort of being part of a larger pipeline is ready to go. And if you're a lighting artist or a shading artist, it just means that you don't have to do an expensive render to at least have some idea of what you're validating. To that point, we now have gone through the work with Mari, where we worked with V-Ray and Autodesk and everybody else. We've got the 3D shader, and RenderMan has also got an independent package. So Mari now has vendor-approved GL shaders, which then have the closest approximation to the ray trace shaders. Mari will then be able to show things in the same fashion as Katana. Or I should say Katana will be able to show the same things as in the way that Mari does. And then they both will be close to the final render. So what we're trying to do is really close the gap between what you see as you work in something, a tool like Mari or Moto or Katana before you start rendering, and the final render, making your jobs easier as artists and as supervisors. The benefit to us and to you is that if any one of our products then makes an improvement to the advanced viewport technology, so in case the Moto guys here were working on, they had added in progressive sampling or anti-aliasing, they added in improved specular response to area lights, we get to absorb that. Everybody does. And to give you an idea of how things look, so AVP on the left, Moto ray tracing on the right, give it enough juice, it will turn out a very complex looking image. So asset validation renders, animation play blasts. There's a whole new option when you consider how robust Katana is at being a rendering tool for your pipeline. All right, so some of the things that we're doing in the future. Some of these things are right around the corner. Just didn't get done in time to make it into 3.6, and other things will be coming later this year. So one of the chief bits of feedback about the network material create workflow was that it was very cool. Everybody liked the new UI, but we designed it at first where it was one node, one material. And we didn't have in place mechanisms for people to share parts of their shading network. The shading group obviously can compartmentalize it, but it doesn't sort of bounce it between parts of Katana. So we're retrofitting the network material create so that it will actually allow you to create multiple network materials that will then all be resident within that node, that could all have multiple render targets on them. So you could have Redshift, 3D, RenderMan, Arnold, V-Ray, whatever it is you have in your pipeline, you can have them all defined there, and then you can manage it all, and those will all be spit out into your scene graph. But if you need to share large parts of your network, you're good to go. On our collaboration with the 3D team, we are putting in, or have put in, the ability to support super tools. So if you guys don't know what super tools are, they're like a Nuke Gizmo on steroids. You can define a very custom Python UI for this tool. You can use it to distribute nodes, but the key element is that it can create its own contents. So you design this UI and attach functionality to it that can change its insides. Now that you can actually use these for shading nodes, not only do you have shading groups, you now have the ability to create super customized shading tools, and you'll be seeing this in a release in the near future. The other part of this that's really exciting, it was always part of the master plan, is that we are adding to the shading group the live group functionality. So you will have a live shading group. What does that mean? It means then you can make these modular widgets for shading that then listen and use our asset API so that they can be saved to disk. They can be versioned. They can be controlled. You could put a whole material setup inside of a live shading group or shading group. You could create a whole new material library that utilizes the live group or the shading group mechanism. And then when you go inside, you have access to everything. So we're really excited about it, and the clients we've spoken with about it are suitably excited as well. Okay, so we've also been talking with a lot of clients, and one of the bits of feedback that we have from them is the consumption of production scenes at scale often involves a lot and lots and lots and lots of instancing. So we will begin a block of work this year to start introducing tools into Katana. So snapping brings with it a customized way to draw points with other data. So this allows us to actually have point clouds that we can say, what is the instance ID? We would be able to give you the ability to have attributes that you would like to inspect on a point cloud presented in the viewer. We'll work on tools that can do things like culling by percentage, culling by volume, promoting instance array individual parts to a hero asset, and subtracting them from the instance array, manipulating point data on an instance array. So these are all the kind of workflows that we're consulting with a lot of clients on in terms of what are their biggest and earliest challenges, and how do we, trying to pack that into some artist-friendly workflows. All right, so here's where we get to show a bit of Mari sneak peek that I'm pretty happy about. So USD is probably the best opportunity for dedicated interop. We've always wanted to do interop, but if you do it a Foundry way, you make buttons that do things, but you also leave an open framework for customers to pipeline it in their way to fit their needs, because we can't cover every scenario. So one of our Look Dev groups, or our Skunkworks groups, has been working on exploring getting a USD preview surface definition exported with Mari. What does this mean? It means when we have the new viewport tech inside of Katana with AVP, you are going to make a rich-looking asset in Mari, and you're going to be able to push-button export that into your pipeline with a USD preview surface definition that then shows the same results inside of Katana. Also means that we're going to be able to provide you a USD plugin. So here we are loading one of the demo assets that our Mari product manager, Rory, has conjured up. So you'll be able to consume this. Now, a word of, a preview to things on Mari. Right now, the limitations of what we can provide through open source will constrain the workflow. So either we'll work on expanding the Mari's API to allow us to give you guys more rich hooks, or we're just going to go native with the tool to give you deeper functionality. But here's something really cool. So USD asset loaded up inside of Mari, and it's actually a component of multiple, or comprised of multiple USD assets. One of them then gets textured up. It can then be exported and then loaded into a tool like USD View, shown in HD Storm in this case. Then it can also have a render delegate turned on. So, at first glance, this gives us a faster way to get you into a ray-traced preview of what your raw shading and texture maps look like. So, some interesting work coming down the pipe. And with that, guys, thank you very much for your time.